Welcome to the Drinks Entrepreneur podcast. My name is Alex Macintyre. I'm a chartered financial planner working with founders and leaders across the drinks industry. In each episode, I sit down with the people behind some of the world's most exciting drinks brands to explore the real stories behind launching, building and scaling drinks businesses. If you love the drinks industry and the stories behind the bottles, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Drinks Entrepreneur podcast. I'm delighted this afternoon to be joined by Rory Coppinger-Sims from Commando Spirit. Hello, Rory.
Hi, Alex. Good to be here. Good to chat.
And yeah, fantastic. Thanks very much for coming on. And you're joining us from Devon this afternoon.
Yeah,
And
as many people call it, God's country.
absolutely. Lovely parts of the world, indeed. And obviously, we were just speaking beforehand and said you've obviously just come back down from north of the border and back down the other end of the country. Great to be speaking. So probably to start with, we'll get more into obviously the great product a bit later. But if you can just kindly explain in a nutshell essentially the products and business is of Commando Spirits. Just as a very
Mhm.
brief background to start with, and then we'll obviously delve a bit into your past prior to that, if that's okay.
Well, my past is in the name itself. Commando Spirit obviously has a military connotation. So, yeah, I was a Royal Marine for 37 years. And the phrase Commando Spirit is actually used within all the commandos, which are not just Royal Marines, Army, Air Force, Navy, etc. Go back to the Second World War. It was just an idea that I had. And I've been blending whiskies for years. And somebody said, well, why don't you do this properly? And so we took the name, which says it on the tin sort of thing, and launched it in 2021 originally just as a whiskey. We now offer blended whiskey, single malt, gin, rum, and vodka as well.
Fantastic. So all the right food groups there, drink groups covering all angles.
Give you
So
choice.
absolutely, no, perfect. Cover all manner of sins. So with my just doing this sort of arithmetic in my head, if you started 2021, means you joined the services in 1984. Is that right? There or thereabouts.
83, mate. You did got it slightly off,
Uh,
but yes.
83, fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
lovely. Um, and obviously straight into the Marines, was it?
Yeah, no, I joined as an 18-year-old. I was watched the Falklands happen and said, yeah, I want to be part of that. And came in as an 18-year-old, not really knowing what I was up to. And in theory, I was joining for 4 years. That was the commission I was given. And then they extended that, and I couldn't find the exit, so kept going. And 37 and a half years later, I finally found an exit and popped out. So, yeah, had a great career.
Fantastic. And no doubt in that period of time saw quite a lot of different tours, countries,
Yeah.
just thinking back to all the different events in that period of time, that was
Oh,
a
yeah,
fair
lots,
bit you must
lots.
have seen.
Yeah, but the fun bit was at the end. Portugal and then Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii for
Oh,
4 years as I retired from Hawaii, effectively. Yeah. So it's
wow.
pretty
Okay.
tough. That was a tough gig.
Yes, that's not a bad place to finish off, is it?
No,
Fantastic.
especially as I quite like my surfing as well. So, it's not bad to live in Portugal and then Hawaii. So
No,
brushed up on
no,
my skills, put it that way.
perfect. Absolutely. No, that's superb. And then from Hawaii back to the UK, is it straight to
Yep.
Devon? or anywhere in between?
Yes, yeah. We've owned this house for a long time, but being military was always moving around. So
Mm,
my kids call it home because they were always here at Christmas, New Year, and stuff. But they never lived here full time. So yeah, retired down here. And the wife was very happy. In fact, her whole family's moved down here now. Um, and yeah, I had to. I mean, then I was leaving, so it was COVID lockdown period. So it wasn't the
mm,
easiest time to start figuring out what you want to do. I'd made two decisions to be slightly naive, but I said I didn't want to go in the corporate world. I felt 37 years serving Queen and Country was corporate enough. I'd like to own my own calendar for once. And the naive bit, I sort of said, if I can avoid defense, I would like to. It wasn't forever, but I need to go and do something else. And so I started networking on a bit like this. You
mm.
can go and meet people. So it was online. And after, I suppose, about 3 months of that, one of my good friends rang me up and said, knowing what you don't want to do is really good, but what do you actually want to do, mate? At which point I went, that's the bit I don't know. I was hoping to have a eureka moment with you lot all telling me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but then I sort of pull this thing because Commando Spirit as a concept had actually taken hold during our 4 years in Hawaii. Um, and to be honest, I had no idea really what I was doing, but I had an idea. Like you've probably heard from most entrepreneurs, they come out with an idea and say, how do I make this happen? I had no business plan. I had no idea. Yeah, I mean, other than consuming alcohol, I didn't really know much about the business or the industry, let alone how to
Yes,
set it
yeah.
up and all the rest of it. But the network is strong, particularly our military network. And within, I think it was about 3 months of networking with this idea of Commando Spirit, I was introduced to the youngest and newest distillery in the north of Scotland, and we signed a joint venture. And within 9 months, we had the first bottle on the market. So
Wow.
worked pretty quick. Yeah, yeah, it was a bit of a
Fantastic.
whirlwind that.
Fantastic. I mean, a lot of the people I speak to, I would say probably more more in this camp than the other is that they've not had any prior other than consumption, as you rightly said, have got no prior drinks industry working career, um, which I think probably tends to be um, a good thing, obviously in the main because they haven't got any sort of preconceptions or anything in terms
Mm.
of, but also
Yeah,
you starting with effectively a blank sheet. Um, but the ones, it's interesting to hear, in terms of having that idea, just how quickly something moves. Obviously taking it forward into something tangible, which obviously, if we're having a conversation like this, it's because that has happened, and obviously I'm sure there's thousands of people that have had the idea and never done anything about it. So it's but I presume that a lot of that lack of procrastination is to some degree based upon your previous experiences. The fact that the
yeah. I
things
think. I mean,
to
I
a
think it
degree.
was it was it was more substantial than retrospectively looking back. I don't know. There's this funny little thing here which gives you a bit of. This is the barrel that my wife gave me for my birthday. You can see it says Rory's age, Commando Spirit, established 1965, my year of birth. So that
Fantastic. Yeah.
that was when we lived in Hawaii. I mean, it's falling apart now, but it takes about a litre ish. And then the other bit, which you probably can't see, but in the middle there is a big decanter, which she also, um, excuse me, moving there.
Yeah. No. Great. Oh wow. Yep.
That was the other part of the. Sorry, the light's not very good on
Yeah. No.
here, but you can see Commando Spirit. So um,
Fantastic.
these were in existence before I even started all of this. Because you gave me
Right.
this for I think it was my 53rd birthday, and then two tumblers as well engraved with Commando Spirit. So it was a real thing, even though it
Yes.
was not meant to be any business idea. And
Yep.
so I'd been blending and with all my American buddies who loved, hey, if an American watches this, I'm not meant to be rude, but Americans get very enthusiastic, as you probably know, about things. My next door
Absolutely.
neighbor was one of those, and on a rather inebriated session, he said, "God damn, man, you got to do this when you go out," and I was like, okay. So, the point is, it was in being already. I'd never thought about turning it into something until genuinely was leaving the armed forces and didn't really know what I want to do. I just didn't want to go the normal route. And I thought I'd
Yes,
try this and have a bit of fun because that's ultimately, at this stage in life, you definitely have to be having some fun. Um, so
absolutely.
that's how
Yeah,
we sort of started. And Commando Spirit as
amazing.
well, I should say, for people not in the military, the story of the Commandos and Commando Spirit is already inculcated here. It's part of those who are commandos. They know what I'm talking about, Commando Spirit. So it's not like I was in complete clean sheet of paper coming up with a new design, all that sort of stuff. I was sort of taking stuff that I already knew and brought it all together.
Yeah, yeah. No, it makes sense. And there's talking of leaving. There was I've just when looking at your website previously, there was an interesting story and fact on there that there's this tradition when
Yeah,
when an officer leaves the unit
yeah.
that you have to is it I'll get this right, gift a bottle of single malts.
Yeah, so it's 4-5 Commando, which is based in Scotland in Arbroath, and they're not quite sure when the tradition started, but we think late 1970s, early 1980s. Certainly people I've spoken to have suggested it started before the Falklands campaign. So,
Okay.
40 plus years now. And by the time I was back in 4-5 Commando on my second tour, so 2000-ish, about that sort of time, and somebody said, "Hey, we've got quite selection now," because you imagine every term or whatever you want to call, people are leaving the mess. So there's a lot of whiskey being presented to the awesome mess because it became this
Yes.
tradition. You've got to go and find a single malt that the mess does not currently own. So there's plenty of options, as you know, out there. So this
Yes.
collection was starting to get ginormous, and you'd walk into this bar, and I mean, it was massive. My civilian friends from London used to come up, and they were like, "Bloody hell!" And they were all in those days. I don't know what it is these days. It was like £1 a shot. So if you knew your whiskies and you chose your right thing, you were getting it very good. So
Yes.
anyway,
Yeah.
this somebody said, right, we should get the Scottish Whisky Association to come and visit. And they did. They sent up a chap from Edinburgh, and we encouraged him to come and spend the night as well. So do an assessment and have dinner with
Yeah.
us, whatever. And he came in and he said, "Wow, that's a hell of a selection." And after going through it, he said, "I think you've got the second largest collection in all of Scotland, private selection." At which we were like,
Right.
and we were all excited. Brilliant, brilliant.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
somebody went, "Hang on, who's number one? We're Boo Next. We like to be number one. Who's one?"
Yes.
And he said, at that time again, whether it is now, he said Glen Eagles Hotel's got more than you. At which point,
Right.
that's
Okay.
fair. That's fair enough. But he kindly said, "Right, I'll do since I'm here, how would you like me to do a small whiskey tasting?" And he said, "I can't do for many people, but 5, 10 of you, whatever." So, and I happen to be luckily one of us. And he took us through the five distinct regions of Scottish whisky, so Highland, Lowland, etc. And he gave us one and talked us through the notes, the nose, etc. That stipulate or characterize that region. And then at the end, we had this sixth glass, and he said, "Right, now based on those five, I want you to blend your own whiskey." And most of us were like, "That's sacrilege. These are single malts. You don't mix a single malt together. And
Yeah.
so anyway, we all blended, and he said, whichever is your favourite, that becomes the base of it. Anyway, he's good, and I don't have it here. Funny enough, it's down in the house. He gave us at the end a signed little certificate that we were master blenders for one day.
Brilliant.
So that was the start of the start of my blending life. So that's 25 plus years ago, and I used to literally, and that's why Amanda gave me this decanter, my wife, because I used to use just any old decanter, And I used to blend these whiskies at home, and quite often I'd have friends over and say, "Right, fellas, what do you reckon's in this one?" And we'd just have fun doing it, mate. It was just
Yes. Yeah.
one of those fun things. But that's how I
Yeah.
started doing my blends. But also blended whiskey, to me, I think is a bit underrated in personal
Mm,
viewpoint. My father, who was an Irishman, drank whiskey all his life. I don't remember ever seeing single malt in the house. It wasn't in their generation. Single malts weren't. It's been, I think, a relatively new sort of fad, if you like. The single malt has become
yes.
the go-to and stuff, and people get a bit snobby about single malt as well. Oh, I don't drink blend. I'm like, what? It's whiskey. It's not vastly
Yes. Yeah.
different. Just
Yeah.
one's made in a single spot, and the others are made. Anyway, so that's why I launched the blended whiskey was our first product.
Fantastic. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And say all the the people that are not trying those are missing out on different tastes and flavors, aren't they? No, and as I say, well, I mean, you're never not going to have a captive audience or a legion of willing samplers, are you, with blending different tastes together? So no, fun in the
Yeah.
research phase. So no, fantastic. So you obviously, yeah. So obviously, we've got all this strong background and history and experiences. So when obviously you had the idea, what did the period look like between, say, having the idea and 9 months later having the finished products? How did that all
Mm.
look for
Well,
you?
that's where, to be honest, I mean, setting up with the joint venture, although I'm no longer in the joint venture and happily out of it now,
Mm,
retrospectively, it was the right thing to do because as I said at the outset, I didn't know the industry. It didn't really, there's a lot of legal regulations you need to understand, particularly with Scotch. There's all sorts of nuance that actually being in a joint venture with some, I mean, they were young guys, but they were, they'd set up their own distillery. They'd left London. One of them was actually Scottish, one's Canadian. Set up this brand new distillery, and we're moving ahead. They produced some really good gin and rum, obviously, while they were laying down their first new make. Obviously, you can't release a whiskey for 3 years, so they were invested in that. And I came along and said, "Look, I want to do a blended whiskey." So they helped me and educated me fundamentally in those first, well, 9 months, as I say, was before we got the first product out. Um, but I suppose the easy way to describe it, I remember one of the lads, Alex, said to me, "Right, Rory, now we've done all the paperwork and joint ventures going. First thing we need to do is identify a bottle." I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Don't need to answer it now, but you need to give it some thought. What sort of bottle?" I said, "No, that's easy." And I literally produced this. I said, "That's the shape I'm looking for." And I described it all. I said, "Look,
yeah,
what I really love is a strong bottom to it, so it's solid, so it's grounded in something, which is again this whole
yep,
commando thing was there." I said I love the straight sides to it. Again, looks slightly militaristic, guy standing to attention, but strong again. So this
yes,
was
yeah,
this was the basis, and it took me 2 seconds. He literally just said, "What bottle are you looking for?" I said something like this, and bless them, they went away and found us the first bottle we used to use, well, we still use for a few of the blends, um, which was literally based on that idea. He went across and, all these different glass companies, all the rest of it. And then once we got the bottle, we then went into the design phase for the labeling. And that we work with a company called R Brands in Edinburgh, who's superb. They do a lot in the booze, I think whiskey primarily, but I think they do all sorts of stuff. Um, and they came up, I mean, we asked them for 3 different designs, I think it was, and they came up with 6. And all 6 I looked at and went, wow, those are all amazing. They're good.
yeah.
Um, so, we were onto that. And then it was, right, the juice and the flavor and all the rest of it. So I'm shortening it very quickly, but over this sort of 9 months period, find the bottle, do the design, and then ultimately the juice, put it in a thing and see if we can sell the damn stuff. So it was relatively quick. In 9 months, it seemed to fly by.
I bet, yes, yeah. Well, I mean, the bottle itself looks great. So, yeah, that's nice that, again. suppose it's nice from a time point of view. The decision making process on that was relatively short because, again, a lot of people don't have a preconceived idea of what they want it to look like. Saying it's getting all the different strands ticked off the list, as well as obviously the
Yeah.
liquid side of things, and all the logistics around that. So when obviously you had the final product, what did it look like in terms of um, sort of initial sales outlets, or where was it
Yeah,
initially
most of it we
made
did
available?
through. Yeah, most of it was, I mean, the distillery itself had its own network distribution. And then I obviously leveraged my network. Um,
Mm,
but even though we're in a joint venture, I decided I wanted my own website. In those days, when you went to buy, that then took you onto their website. So they did all the fulfillment, money taking, all
yes.
that sort of side. I mean, that's not the case now, but we did it that way because, they had their own brand and mine was a subtly different. Now they were producing it for us, yes, but we wanted to make sure we kept Commando Spirit as a separate brand in its own right. So that's how we got it self-established. And then, my network through the military and the commandos, there's various little military shops that you can get through. But most of my sales, to be honest, are online. Um,
Yeah.
COVID really enhanced for the drinks industry the online sales, and it still persists today. As I haven't got data on it, but everybody I speak to says they're still doing a lot of online sales.
Seems to be fairly consistent now, doesn't it? Yeah, with just ease of if you've got say all the backgrounds, logistics and fulfillment working well, then yeah, it's a fairly
Yeah.
straightforward way of doing it. So obviously that happened, and then how long was it between then and obviously parting ways and obviously moving it all over fully onto your side?
Well, we had an interesting episode with the MOD because my original design, which was not this logo, slightly different. I've got a bottle behind me
Right.
there, but oh boy, the MOD after about 2 years, despite me going to them and saying, "Hey, this is what I'm doing," I didn't show them the final image, but they came at
Yeah.
me and said, "A cease and desist. That's a trademark." And I was like, I think I've trademarked this. Anyway, long story short, a bunch of lawyers, we got together and decided that it wasn't really worth the hassle. And as I say, we had these five other designs that the team had put together. This was sitting there as one alternative. And I said, well, a legal battle's going to take forever and time, costs, all the rest of it. We'll just
Yes.
we'll just do a redesign. But that's when the
Yep.
joint venture, the distillery decided to step out. At the time, yeah, I was massively pissed off. Retrospectively,
Mm.
I'm so glad it happened, to be honest with you, because I control the whole thing myself now. I've learned
Yep.
enough of the
Yep.
industry, so I'm, very grateful for what they, taught me
Yes.
about the industry and stuff. And then I've moved it all around. We started, as I say, it was only whiskey. Never intended to do anything other than whiskey because commandos were formed in Scotland and da 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 da. But then I'd taken the whiskey off the market while I was resetting, and an opportunity to do gin came to me, and I was
Right.
driving from here down to towards Dartmoor because
Yep.
another veteran, not a commando interesting, but another veteran he started making gin during lockdown. Anyway, I tried his gin. His gin was quality, so gave him a ring and said, "Mate, I've got all these people. They love my brand, but they don't drink whiskey. So can we do something else? And would you be up for doing a gin with me?" He said, "Look, I love the idea. Why don't you come and visit me on Wednesday?" Well, this was like Monday. And as I was driving down to him, there was Dartmoor right in front of me. I went, "I got it. Dartmoor's where today's commandos train. That's where they do their final assessment." So
Right. Yep.
Dartmoor,
Yep.
and literally his Dartmoor overlooks. He's a, I don't know, 5-10 miles north of the
Yep.
moor, but it hit me straight away. And then we were designing the gin. He said, "Right, botanicals," and I said, "Well, we got to make Dartmoor. That's what I got to find." He said, "Well, that's your problem. You go and find that." And so I came back with a list of, whatever. Heather being the, I said, mate, Heather. And he said, no, all the Scottish distilleries use Heather in their gin. No, we're not using that. Okay. I said, what about gorse? He said, the little yellow flower that you get or petal you get on gorse.
Yes,
Because
yep.
anybody who's been through commando training has crawled through gorse. They know gorse is definitely an item that they know all about. Anyway, so
Yep, yep.
I'd done some research, and the yellow petal has a very slight burnt coconut flavoring to it. So really subtle, but
Okay.
it's quite, yeah.
Yeah, yep.
So I said, how about gorse? It's plentiful. I just go and pick it, and then you have to buy the damn stuff. And
Yeah,
then
perfect.
the next one, which was quite funny, I found again online that there was a thing that was fairly unique to Dartmoor called Bastard Balm. So yeah,
Right.
it's well, they say it's from the verbena family, which it's not. It's a bastard. That's why it's called a bastard balm. It
Right,
looks
okay.
like a mint, a wild mint, and it has a
Yep.
slight minty flavor. But you imagine, I find this thing, ring Mark up, another ex-military bloke, mate, there's this thing called bastard balm. He said, Rory, it doesn't matter what it tastes like, it's going in. That's brilliant.
It sounds
So
good. Yeah, yeah.
anyway, it actually does taste nice. I mean, I say it's not a particularly pungent flavor, but it's got a minty taste to it. So
Okay, yeah.
those are the only two botanicals we advertise that we utilize, but ultimately everything is the attraction from Dartmoor. We've reduced
Yes.
the juniper to almost the bare minimum, so we're not great fans of big junipery flavour. We like
Mm.
to reduce it down. So we've got this lovely. In my view, I'm obviously very biased, but hey, we've won an IWSC bronze on my blended whiskey and an IWSC bronze on my gin. So other
Fantastic.
people who
Yeah,
are in the profession obviously say we're doing okay.
definitely, definitely. And I'm sure that combination of the botanicals must be unique. There's nobody else that's got that anywhere else. I'm
I
sure
mean,
it's
I'm not, I haven't researched to find out if anybody
you
does, mate. But all I know is my gin tastes damn good, and most people seem to be approving of it.
perfect. Well, that's all that matters, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what year was that happened?
That must have been 24, I guess. We launched the
20.
gin, and 25 we launched rum, and then vodka at the end of 25, and then single malt at the beginning of this year.
Fantastic. So what was the next step? Obviously going from gin to rum. The
So
story behind that.
rum was, yeah, well, rum was more, again, a lot of the, I was going to say the younger element, but it's not necessarily. But a lot of the military guys, again, just said, any chance you're going to do a rum? And particularly, Marines being a maritime naval organization, rum's very traditional naval sort of thing, and it's quite popular at the moment. It's becoming more so.
Yeah.
Spice rum particularly, although I didn't really
Mm.
want to go the spice rum route. And anyway, Mark, my chap who does my gin, I tried to persuade him a while back actually, but he wouldn't. He wouldn't. Anyway, eventually I convinced him that, hey, mate, and he said, come on, let's do a rum then. So we pulled the rum together and launched it. As I say, was it last spring? I think probably it was last spring. And again, sells very well. It's we also play. There's a unique bit with all our ABVs because you probably won't be aware that most of the commando units are four something. So 40 commando, 42 commando,
Hmm.
45 commando, 47, 43. Um, so my blended whiskey is now 45%.
Yeah. Yeah.
My single malt is 4-3. Those are the two Scottish based commando units. The gin is 4-2 because it's the nearest one to 4-2 commando. And then the rum is 4-7 because 4-7 commando is the amphibious unit.
Right. Gotcha. So it all makes perfect. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, what a great
Well, it makes
connection.
sense to people who know. See, you're looking at it and
Yes.
going, "What the hell?" Whatever. But most people don't know about that. it's a little bit that we just play on,
That's
and then when I
yeah,
show people, they go, "Oh yeah,
brilliant. Well, once you know, yeah, you know, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? And yeah, I'm sure with the obviously this the sales that you're doing to within the military, that's obviously is another tick in the box. Obviously of all the connections to it. So
yeah,
no, that's great. And obviously well above because obviously we have a lot of sort of conversations with people that obviously that are producing good quality rums, etc. And obviously one of the biggest sellers, obviously, in the country, without mentioning the brands. Obviously, technically, isn't in the true sense a rum because its ABV is below the the legal requirements. So it's quite nice to hear. Obviously, yours is definitely over the quota, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah. No, it's pretty strong. But hey, I mean, I was impressed. I thought 47 would be a bit too strong. I can literally, it's a sipping rum. You can have it without adding anything to it. It is seriously drinkable. Again, I'm obviously biased. I accept that, but it is drinkable very, very easily, even at 47%.
Fantastic, excellent. And where are they all produced now?
So Scotch obviously is all done in Scotland. I actually
Yep.
work with a bottling company in Glasgow, um, in Paisley actually. But the gin and the rum are down, as I say, just north of Dartmoor,
Okay.
and
Yep.
my vodka's made in Oakhampton actually, as another distillery I work with for the vodka. So
Okay.
vodka's
So
the newest edition again because people are saying the youngsters want a vodka. I say youngsters. Other people who don't necessarily want whiskey, gin, or rum might want vodka. So we
yes.
went right. Let's
Yep.
add it to the. So we've got the full sort of portfolio effectively, and then um,
Absolutely.
the only one being asked for is tequila, but I can't connect the Commando story with tequila at the moment. Um, so for
Let's see.
the other thing is our if it's not whiskey, it has its own name. It still has the same logo, but Commando Spirit is the whiskey. The
Yep.
gin is called chin strapped gin, so play on a phrase that we use in the military. The rum is called rum ashore because we talk about going for a run ashore, which is going a
Yep.
night out. So we played on that. And then the vodka, we call it Arctic Spirit vodka because again we go to Norway and the Arctic.
Of course.
So they all
Yes.
have their own names.
Yep. Excellent. Love it. Um, and then jump ahead. Did you say to early this year? Was it with the
Yeah,
single malts? Yep.
single malt, single malt. Yeah, no, I did a deal with a chap, actually another former Royal Marine who's a part owner of a distillery in Scotland. Just
Right.
been chatting to him, and I said, look, there's a lot of people who, like we were talking earlier, aren't fans of blended and keep on saying when am I going to do a single malt. So yeah, I bought a cask off them. They were happy. Didn't want to put their name on it. It confused their brand mine. I tasted it. It was 8 years old. Tasted bloody good. I had a couple of mates to help me, and we decided, right, well, we'll do a limited release. So we've only done 150
Okay.
bottles at the moment out of the cask. And yeah, it's at 8 years old. I think when do we launch? We launched it in January, I think. Yeah, late January, I guess. Half the bottles are gone already. So
Wow.
it's not cheap. It's not cheap, but
Yep.
it's people are obviously like the idea. And certainly
Definitely.
a good friend of mine who lives in Scotland demolished a bottle the other night. He said, "This is too good." So,
Made
well,
short
there you
work of
go.
it. Yeah. Well, they speaks volumes for the quality then. Yeah. And out of all of the variations, obviously between them all, are they all very distinctive in terms of sales, or is there a standout performer so far, or is it obviously time will tell for
Yeah,
the younger ones?
people ask me, but it's too early to tell because this
Yeah.
will be the first calendar year where we've got all five products. Um, so we haven't been consistent enough. Yeah, I mean, I can. Yes, I can look at the website and say, right, there we go. That's. But to do a true comparison, I think you probably need to ask the question in about a year's time, and then I'll be
Yes. Yep.
absolutely. I mean, the whiskey, interesting. What I have noticed on our sales is we are across the year fairly consistent. We do have some peaks and troughs. Christmas obviously is an up arrow, and when
Yes.
we launch something, you always there's a bit of an up. But I would say broadly, our curve is relatively flat across the year, which to me is good as a businessman. It means I'm not,
Definitely.
a lot of people talk about dry January, and I look at the figures and go, well, actually, I mean, hey, we're not selling vast quantities, don't get me wrong, we're a very small producer and all the rest of it, but our figures throughout the year are pretty well sustained, and we're gradually growing. I mean, it's a curve that's going up.
Yes.
It's just not doing it. But frankly, I don't want to do that. I want that curve to be a nice, steady curve going
Yes.
upwards.
Yep. Yep.
I'm not trying to win the world and whiskey and gin and rum and all the rest of it. This is it's a bit of a passion project, I suppose.
Yeah. 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 No, that makes sense. Um, and in terms of obviously aside from obviously all the military connections and the established channels you've got already, is there different marketing channels that you're doing for the different products, or is it very similar in terms of this is
Not
what we've
really.
got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. This is where I probably need to learn a lot more about marketing. Now I've got all these different products. Um, it tends to be all around the Commando story.
Yeah,
So we're using it around that sort of angle. That's what the brand is. It's
absolutely.
Commando Spirit's the brand, and then you don't like whiskey? Okay, fine. Do you want a gin, rum, or vodka sort of thing? So it's yeah, not very sophisticated and brutally honest to you. And that's probably this year now. We've got the five products. I need to work I do it all myself, run the website, run the Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, bizarrely, everybody told me you won't sell through LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is probably one of our best outlets, bizarrely. Maybe
That's
that's indication of me as an old
interesting.
bloke. And yeah,
That is well, it's. I think sometimes it's easier to understand than again. Shy away from never using something like TikTok. I've got no idea what goes on
no,
there, how it
I'm
works, or
not.
anything.
I'm not. Not on TikTok or any of the. That's why again, my children are saying, "Come on, Dad, you need some video. You need to get doing the cocktails and all the rest of it." So there's a lot of things on the to-do list. Whether we get
Yeah.
there, I don't know, but we could do.
No, absolutely. Well, absolutely. Yeah. Like you say it's if it's working well as it is at the moment, yeah, the sort of steady as she goes. I think is the like you say, is the desired outcome. Um, so in terms of obviously jumping back to sort of the sort of generic side of sort of the business, for want of a better phrase, um, looking back, obviously 5 years ago, um, looking at your previous self before you obviously gained all this knowledge and experience, is there anything that surprised you in terms of how the journey's gone, or anything that you thought um, might have gone differently had
Um,
you had
I'm-
prior knowledge, experience?
yeah, I don't. I mean, I think surprises. Yeah, it's quite hard to say things that surprise me because, to be brutally honest, I had no expectations. So things
Yes,
happened,
yeah.
and you're like, what, whatever. I mean. There's always stuff that happens. I mean,
Yeah.
the fulfillment company I was working with earlier this year have suddenly gone bust, and I'm like, ah! So you suddenly get an
Yeah.
ambush, and you've got to go,
Yes.
shit, I've got stuff that's bonded, I've got this,
Yeah.
where's it going to go? And,
Yeah.
you start hair on fire or what little hair's left. Um, but so no, I wouldn't say there's surprise. I mean,
Yeah.
joint venture's an interesting experience.
Mm.
As I say, glad to be out of it now.
Yeah.
Um, I think, they always tell you, but you never do it. Keep your handle on your figures. Certainly wasn't tight enough to start with. Understanding margins. It's a learning process that somebody like me who was never been in business in your late 50s, you're suddenly learning stuff that, you as a young man have probably learned 10 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm learning it now. So I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
anything's
Yeah.
really surprised me. Things have pissed me off, yes, but nothing. I can't
Yeah.
look back and say I've, was totally surprised by that. You know, I mean, paying the bloody tax man, that's definitely a pain in the arse. But
Yeah. Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
do, I mean, you're paying
Yeah.
VAT, excise duty, you're paying so much, and people sometimes forget. They go, "Blimey, your stuff's expensive." I'm saying, "I know because I'm a small producer, and to turn any margin, sorry fellas, but do you realise how much I'm paying to HMRC? Not just the VAT that you can see, I pay excise duty, and it's
Mm.
almost 10 quid a bottle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to
Yeah.
make money in the booze industry, to be brutally honest with
Yeah.
you."
Yeah. Yeah. Like you say, yeah, that's definitely what people don't see, isn't it? Tom, you take a bottle and start stripping out all the cost, the tax, the other costings, production, and you're left with the margin at the end, and you get I think also the bugbear, when prices of go back to it, non-alcoholic brands are sort of nearly at the same level when they've not got the same um, costings to the tax man. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and as I say, if you're bringing out a premium product like you've got, you've got to build that into it. And in terms of obviously not being in a commercial environment beforehand, but I presume not commercially, but high pressure, uh, stress, etc., that's come from your military background. I suppose in a lot of regard has helped with resilience, etc., within the business world.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be quite as bold as that, but I mean, I think we use a phrase of KISS in the military: keep it simple, stupid. Um,
Yeah,
and actually, just actually bear down and keep stuff as simple as you can. Um, just don't get overexcited or overstretch yourself. I read a business book that was, I call it excuse my language, but eat a bit, shit a bit. You might have to edit that with that. But this businessman who was, I think he'd written the book in his late 40s, early 50s. And he basically was saying, well, this is what I took from the book, was when you got a project, you launch it down an avenue or an angle, and what you need to do is give it enough time to see if that idea has merit and is selling or whatever it happens to be. If it's not, back to square one, relaunch at a different angle. And this is why
yeah,
I just came away from it and called it the eat a bit, shit a bit, because it's sort of eat a bit, right? That doesn't work, come back, relaunch. If it does, step forward. So keep eating a bit. So
yes,
it sort of gave me a little, okay. And then a mate of mine said, probably quite early on in the project, you do realize you're launching a brand. And I said, what? He said, no, it's a brand, mate. Yes, it's associated with booze. At that time, it was just whiskey. But
yeah,
you think of it as a brand. You need to understand what a brand is and how a brand works. And I'm still in that journey, trying to understand. But it starts to then govern, who do you team up with or not team up with? Where's that? You look at that, right? That brand is protected. Ours is obviously based on some well-known stories and all the rest of it. And
yes,
so you've got
yeah,
to be true to the brand. And
yeah,
we talk about understated excellence. So everything, when working with a new team or whatever, I keep on saying, guys, it's understated excellence. It doesn't mean you need to be scream shouting all the rest of it, but it needs to be blooming good. Okay, this is the quality that I'm looking for. So the little things you start to sort of bring from back, yes, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's sort of commercially savvy. Not really. Try and keep it simple. Simple man. Can't
I think
overcomplicate
that's
things.
no. Well, I think that's right. I think you can be in danger of overcomplicating it, can't you? And like you rightly
Yeah,
said, if something doesn't work, don't keep
yeah,
this is an obvious. reason why it's not working, but don't keep hammering away at it if it's clearly not the right way forwards. And like you say, stop and pivot and do something alternative. But I think, yeah, from what I gauge, from what you're saying, obviously because you've got the ethos behind it, going obviously from the brand side, whereas say random other whiskey or rum producer that hasn't got as much of a story behind it, for want of a better phrase, a generic um,
Yeah.
rum brand. You've got, I suppose you've got to keep things um, aligned to what the original or the whole of the
Yeah.
brand
You got to be
of
true to it.
Commando is.
Yeah.
Be true to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Totally.
protect and continue. Yeah. So what does obviously you spoke about growth. What's as you know, obviously you've been on this journey for the last 5 years. Where do you see the next 1, 3, 5 years in an ideal sense looking like,
Um,
or where do you think?
I always take this question because I'm not very good at this, even though I'm a military planner. Um, I have, need to say, some ideas that exist that I don't necessarily declare.
Yeah.
Um, but they're ideas. They're not because they've not been turned into a plan.
Yes.
So this year really is about sort of consolidation of the five items and then placement. That's my thinking this year is about placement, right? Where do we get now that we've got five products that are all, people know them already, not massive, but where are the places I should be getting them into and where can I, improve, if you like, the marketing to broaden the appeal, if you like. I mean, we got. I mean, I've never really looked at all the figures, but probably 10,000 followers of various. If I look at the Instagram to the Facebook to
Mm.
this to purchasing all the rest of it, so you're up,
Yes.
you're somewhere up there. Um, so it's and most of those are associated, not necessarily in the military or were in the military. They'll be associated. There's always when I was first asked about target audience, I said, well, the central lot are 10,000 they currently serve. Then there's about 30,000 who are veterans, and then there's the connected to those is
Yes.
and that figure, God knows. I mean, that could be 60,000, that could be 100,000. So you already start to understand that. Now, how
Yeah.
far have we reached the outer end of that? I don't know yet. This is where a
Mm.
clever marketeer will come in and tell me whatever, and they'll charge me a fortune to do it. So I'm going to do that organically and try and figure out,
Yes.
right, where can we get to? And I've got all sorts of discussions going on with different people, some of which go nowhere.
Yeah.
Classic, small business. You chat to loads of people, and somebody gives you an idea, and you think it's going to go, and then it just never comes off, or
Yeah.
you do it. I think the bit we also haven't talked about, which is important, very important to me in this project, is the charitable side, to be brutally honest. Um,
Perfect. Yeah.
so when we started the project, I probably retrospective anyway, a bit naively said, right, for every bottle we sell, we're going to we actually put £1 in the coffers. I've dropped that now. It just business wise, it wasn't working out
Yeah.
with our small. So, but I still, Royal Marine Charity is my primary, but it's not just those. I support others. One bottle was somebody purchased for was it Wounded Warriors? I think it was a lunch a couple of years ago, and they, I'll sell them at basically a cost price. Um, and that sold for 800 quid. Two ex-military guys, one who was a paratrooper, one was a submariner. They paid 800 quid for the bottle. Um, the gala dinner that the Royal Marine Charity put on end of last year, they bought loads of rum off me, about 40 bottles. They were on all the different tables, and basically they put an envelope with the bottle. Everybody puts 20 quid minimum in with their
Yeah.
monocle on it, and then the host picks out, somebody gets a bottle basically for 20 quid, anyway, I think somebody from the charity said that generated about £11,000 just that one event. Um, so yeah,
Amazing.
there's a
Yep.
big,
Yep.
I'm definitely um, there's a veterans rugby sevens tournament going on. So they've asked me, I give them in that instance a bottle. Um, so it all varies. The charitable
Yes. Yep.
piece
Yep.
is
Brilliant.
varies across the piece. Broadly, I'm after making sure that somebody covers my cost.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and I've just learned I can't just give away stuff with the way we operate,
Yep.
which is a bit of a pain because my inherent, yeah, mate, have a bottle. But
Yes. Yeah.
my company secretary, brackets the wife, tells me that's money.
Yeah.
So I have to
Very
be
true.
slightly more careful on it.
Yes.
But
Yep.
yeah, the
Yep.
charitable piece is it will continue throughout anyway.
Great. Well, no, that's no. Thank you for mentioning. Yeah, that's very important, and yeah, obviously, yeah, that's nice that you've got that again. Just reinforcing the strong links you've got, isn't it, with the military
Yeah.
connection? So no, fantastic. And in terms of the very short term or this year, aside from obviously the sort of natural evolution of the business, obviously you said you had before we started the podcast, you said you obviously had a combination event over the weekend with a book launch and whiskey tasting. Are there other things of that sort of nature plans, those sort of type events as well?
Yeah, yeah, there are a number of different things which I'm not going to publicize yet, but these are all dialogues that now, now we're in 5 years. A lot of people know who we are, what we are, sort of routine. So I'm getting gradually, and again, this is not it's not a race to get stuff shifting. It's with people I trust and know, or not necessarily know. Actually, a lot of people are coming to me and saying, "Hey, what about this and this?" So yeah, there are a few cool ideas. Some abroad, interestingly. Um, but
Right.
it's again, where's your brand need to land? How
Yeah.
premium are you? How do you sustain that or not? So it's always it's a complex equation of right. I'm going to seize every opportunity there, but how far do you take the opportunity before you say that doesn't quite work for us,
Yes.
without
Yeah.
upsetting whoever it is that you're dealing with, sort of thing. So yeah, it's there are some ideas out there, but I am not about to divulge some of those.
Perfect. No, good. And I suppose, yeah, important thing obviously about retaining the premium nature is, not spreading yourself too thin and being too available, I suppose, to maintain that premium element of the
Well, yeah,
products.
I mean we're pretty much a one man slash. My wife's helps me run the company, as it were,
Yep.
invoicing all the rest of it. But I mean we're a very small enterprise, really. Obviously, it's all outsourced, so I get other people to
Yes.
produce the actual products, and then a
Yep.
fulfillment team because neither my wife nor I would really want to be in the garage every night, blooming sending them off.
No.
We're not that stage of life, so and that has an impact on your bottom line, obviously, because you're outsourcing lots of bits and pieces,
Yes. Yep.
but it's also a de-risking because you've got it
Yeah.
multiple different places, so there's a bit of that involved in it. So yeah, it's we are pretty much me and me and me, and that's about it. So there's not much
Yep.
more. My dear wife will help me out every now and again. We did a veterans weekend in John Lewis, did a pop up at John Lewis Exeter for 3 days, and she gallantly put on the shirt and helped me sell some booze. Actually, very well,
Fabulous.
obviously. She's much more pleasant than I am, so.
Excellent. No, great. Well, as I say, that all makes perfect sense. Keeping it lean, controlling the costs, and yeah, from an outsourcing point of view, I suppose it's harking back to your previous life, risk management as well, isn't it? Especially, obviously with some of the
Yeah.
um, scenarios that that you've experienced as well. So yeah, makes a lot of sense. Um, Excellent. So yeah, obviously we've been chatting for a long time, and yeah, it's been. I think we've got through quite a lot there, which is it's been really interesting to hear your journey. But in terms of obviously people finding out more about Commando Spirits, obviously there's the website, which I believe obviously is commando-spirit.com. Um,
Yeah.
Other than that, all the say apart from
Inst
TikTok,
Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X, you name it, we're on all of those. I mean, primarily Instagram's the one that I'm probably more active with, and then LinkedIn. Yeah,
brilliant.
LinkedIn. We've
LinkedIn,
got a
yeah,
site
don't
on there
forget
as well.
LinkedIn.
Um,
Great, excellent. Right,
so yeah, but
well,
if you want the product, you've got to go to the website. That's yeah.
perfect. Yep, do that, please. Yeah,
But I think
absolutely.
I
Have a
think
look.
my SEO is good enough. If you Google Commando Spirit whiskey or booze, it'll come to the top of your Google chat.
Superb, great. No, no, it certainly it came up very swiftly for me. So no, I think you're doing all the right things there, Rory. So yeah,
By luck.
it's going well. So no, brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much for your time this afternoon. Yeah, really enjoyed that. It's been really interesting to sort of hear the journey. And yeah, I implore people to take a look and obviously go on the website and follow you on all your social channels. And yeah, I look forward to obviously seeing how the journey continues and flourishes. And wish you all the best as you go. And I've been really enjoyed it today, Rory. So thank you very much for coming on.
Well, thank you, Alex, for giving me the time. It's always happy to talk about booze.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great subject, isn't it? So thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers. All the best.